it's a mini-shiur. It's a mini-shiur. Okay, so today we're doing something that I've wanted to do for a while, which is show you how to use the good Rambam. Okay, so this is the Sheilat Rambam Meduyak, which is the best Rambam. Okay, and I hope to convince you why. But the main thing is we could go infinitely into this topic, but I just want to show you, which we're not going to do. But I just want to show you, practically speaking, how to use it. This is the one that's on all Torah. And just a quick intro. So R Sheilat this is embarrassing for me, is still alive. For some reason, I thought that he was earlier than he was. Okay, I thought that he died in the 2000s, but he's still alive. He is, according to Wikipedia, an Israeli Orthodox rabbi and scholar of Jewish thought, specializing in the writings of Maimonides and Rabbi Avraham Isaac Kook. He co-founded and serves as a senior faculty member at Yeshivat Birkat Moshe, which is also the yeshiva that publishes the Good Ralbag, okay, and a bunch of other good things. And he, yeah. No, if you have anything to add, feel free to add.
The screen went off.
It's been doing that, yeah. Also, this yeshiva is associated with Rabbi Nachum Rabinovich, who is our hero of the year, who is the author of the Yad Pshuta. Okay, so this is a very chashuv cohort here. Okay, so R Sheilat, I think, has been working on this Rambam for a very long time, and it was recently completed. And then he made it available graciously to all Torah. So the main thing you need to know, again, we're going to focus on the practical because we could go infinitely in terms of the whole history. The main thing you need to know is how to use the Sheilat, okay? And the key, so what I started on this ambitious project over the summer, which I only did for one day, which is to translate the entire Sheilat introduction into English.
Oh, wow.
And I told Rabbi Novetsky, I'll do that, and I'll just do it whenever I have a plane ride. I'll just do it on the plane, not taking into account that I'd be very tired coming back on the planes for stuff. So I started to translate it, and I would like to finish it. I got through a bunch of it, but not all of it. So the main thing is like this: is if you look at the Sheilat anywhere in the Rambam, and you look at the footnotes, you'll see these little aleph and bets and dalets and gimels, okay, and things like that. So here, I'm going to start with the most practical thing, okay, which is aleph, bet, taf, and gimel are the most accurate manuscripts, okay? Aleph stands for number 1, but it also stands for Oxford, okay? The most accurate edition of the Rambam is, let me just go here, is if you look in the Hakdama to the Hakdama of the Rambam. This is Sheilat's Hakdama to the Rambam's Hakdama. He tells you that Aleph stands for Ksav Yad Oxford 577 Huntington 80. That's the name of the manuscript. I want to print up hoodies that say, they have a picture of the Rambam with the sunglasses, and then on the back it says, real men use the Oxford 577 Huntington 80. And only two people will get it. So there is the legendary Rambam, the L'havdil Holy Grail of Mishneh Torahs, which is the one that the Rambam himself wrote. We don't have that, and that's the large part that I translated in this whole thing here about what happened to that. It says, let me just read from my translation here really quickly, because this is like the Indiana Jones part of the thing. It says, yeah. So the original, most accurate version of the book, this is my translation, written by the hand of Rabbeinu, was preserved by his descendants in Egypt for about 200 years. But after that, all traces of it vanished. However, remnants of the drafts of the companion have been found, so things were found in the Cairo Geniza, et cetera, et cetera. So this Oxford manuscript, which is known either as the Oxford or the Sefer HaMuga, which means the critical edition, is known by, it says here, this is the most accurate or the best edition of the Mishneh Torah we have. Noselav es ishuro shal Rambam. It bears the signature of the Rambam Zal, the etzem ksav yad kacho, in his holy handwriting. Okay, that says Huga misifri ani Moshe Rabbi Maimon Zatzal. Okay, I don't think he wrote Zatzal. but
maybe you think Zatzal from Maimon.
Oh yes, correct. Yeah, right. That makes a lot more sense. Rabbi Maimon Zatzal. Yeah, right. So basically, the Rambam checked over this edition, which was copied from his own personal version, and he signed off on it. Okay. V'hu kolo es Sifrei Hamada ve'Ahava b'krach echad. It has Sefer Hamada and Ahava in one volume. Uvasovo Ksav Sofer Baruch Hanosin Le'af Koach V'Kasav Yefes Bar Shlomo Halevi Haparnas. I forgot what Nun Ayin stands for. That's one of the ones that went out of use. Nishmaso Aden. Okay, so his soul is in Aden. Okay, if you want to know what Aden is, ask Chaim. Okay. Ksav. So the unfortunate thing / fortunate thing about this. The unfortunate thing is we only have Hamad and Ava. The fortunate thing is we have Hamad and Ava, which if you're going to preserve any two things in the Rambam, that's probably the one they want to preserve. We also have the Seder Tefilah, I believe, which is at the end of Ahava, which is not technically part of Sefer Ava, but it's usually included there. So he says, "Ksavia nichtav b'Mitzrayim b'chay haRambam mitoch achas ha'atakos shayu mitzuyos sham." So this manuscript was written in Egypt during the lifetime of the Rambam, out of one of the copies that was found there. Ve'achar kach huga al yad magia al pi ksav yado hamakori shal Rambam, and then it was corrected using the Rambam's original legendary holy hand manuscript. Amnam af ksav yad mishubach zeh eino nachim legamrei mishkios. But even this best edition is not free from errors, okay, because it's human beings wrote it. He explains that in his intro. This is what they chose as the foundation for the version on of the Sheilat for Ava, Hamad and Ava. Okay, fine. So that is Oxford. Okay, the Ksav Yad, the real man's Rambam. Okay, and we're not going to go through detailed stuff for the rest of them, but Bet is second order manuscripts. So these were ones that were either potentially made from other copies that were signed off by the Rambam. Sorry, they were made from copies that the Rambam signed off on, or copied from the Sefer HaMuga, and there are differences there. So that's like the second best. The tough is the Taimani ones. Okay, so with the Taimanim, if I have time, I'll tell you what the deal is with that, but I'll just summarize it verbally. So basically, the Yemenites, obviously, of all the communities in Jewry, they were the most focused on the Rambam as an authority and on making sure that there was a constant updating of the manuscripts. But the problem is, so they ordered 3 copies of the Mishneh Torah from the Rambam during the Rambam's lifetime. But the scribes who copied them we don't know who the scribes were. And the 3 copies that made it to Yemen have discrepancies between them. Okay, as opposed to the Oxford was written by Shlomo Bar Yefes, who was a notable Talmid Chachamim, and so we know he wasn't just some Joe Schmo. So even though there are errors, here we know that all 3 Timanim things can't be correct because they have differences, and we don't know who wrote them. Okay, so that's that, and then Gimel is from the Cairo Geniza. Okay, and again, in some cases this means it's more accurate. In some cases it's less, because, for example, we have like drafts of the Rambam's Mishneh Torah editions in his own handwriting. So like the fact that it's in his own handwriting is very like important. But if it was just a draft, then, and there's a contradiction between the draft and like the another final version, then like that leads to questions. Okay, so when you're looking in the footnotes, these are the 4 that are like the most reliable. Okay, then you have and then when you have the numbers next to them, if you see Bet and then 1 through 2, it means it's in one of the Mizrahi manuscripts and the second one. And then 1 through 3, or like Taimanim 1 through 3 is all 3 Taimanim manuscripts. Okay, fine. Then you have the published editions. So the D is what we call the Dufus edition, right? The Dufus Warsaw Vilna, which is the bad version. That's what we call the bad version. And then Hey is Frankel. Shabtai Frankel, which is one of the, so in my day in yeshiva, the 2 editions that we used the most were the Frankel and the Kafech, because both of those publishers cared about accurate manuscripts of the Rambam, but there are various faults in them as well. For example, Kafech will favor the Taimani manuscripts over the Oxford in certain cases, which I don't know why he does that. Or he'll favor Yemenite Minhag over the Oxfords. And then Frankel, I forgot what the deal is with Frankel. I mean, one of the not problems with Frankel, but one of the user difficulties with Frankel is I believe that he brings all the new scholars on the side, which is good, but in the text itself, it sometimes has the non-ideal Rambams. Okay, so when you are looking in the actual text of the Mishneh Torah and you're using it, so the main use that you can use it for is comparing the halachos here. So I chose my favorite example of the diagnostic test for, I'm sure I've said this before, but I'll say it again. If you are looking at a Rambam and you don't know whether it's the good version or not, go to Hilchos Chametz Matzah Vav Yud Beis, right? This is the diagnostic test. So the accurate version says Asru Chachamim le'echol matzah be'erev Pesach. So the Chachamim prohibited you to eat matzah on erev Pesach. Kadei sheyeh heker la'achilas b'layla, so that you can have a distinguishing, a differentiation for the eating at night. What? Okay.
The question is, it says erev over there. Is that the test?
No. Umisha achal matzah be'erev Pesach. Someone who eats matzah on erev Pesach, makin also makas mardus. Then you give him makas mardus, right? Whiplashes for violating a d'Rabbanan. So that's the real version. But if you look down on the footnote here. So it says, now this is interesting, Begilion Bet Aleph. So in the margin of one of the Mizrahi manuscripts, Nosaf B'Ksav Acher, it's written in a different handwriting, Ad Shetete Nafsho. You hit him until his soul departs. V'kach Defus. And that's what it says in the Defus, in the standard editions of the Rambam, is you hit him until his soul departs.
But isn't that what's it called for Marcus Martis anyway? Marcus Martis is always taking an option now.
Sure, what?
It's not literal though.
Yeah, so that's the problem, right? So you don't beat him until he dies, right?
It's never literal, but that
Right.
happens, but like
Not
that's-
death.
I know. Well,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'm sure you can say that.
We don't have a death penalty of Marcus. It's for death penalty.
right.
no, I know.
Yeah,
But I was under the impression that Marcus Martis was always what's considered taking an option.
okay, so we can look into that. I'm not current in this yet. I'll give you another this one when I've asked other people about this. So this
So you're saying if it says actually not sure.
oh, so then you know that it's a doofus one. Yeah, okay. Here's another test, and this one I got to credit Abigail Lev for because she pointed this out to me. So in the actual Rambam, it says in Brachos Hevav, Hakol Chayavim B'Birkas Hazimun, Kederach Shechayavim B'Birkas Hamazon. Right, so everyone is obligated in Birkas Hazimun just like they're obligated in Birkas Hamazon. Afilu Kohanim Sha'achlu Koche Kochim Ba'azara. V'chein Kohanim V'Yisraeli. That's interesting. Sha'achlu ke'achad. So if Kohanim and a Israelite eat together, v'achlu Kohanim Truma V'Yisrael Chulin Chayavim B'Zimun. Then he says Nashim v'avanim uktanim Chayavim B'Zimun Kechiyuvan B'Birkas Hamazon. So women and servants and katanim are obligated in Birkas Hazimun just like they're chiyuv in Birkas Hamazon. But in the Defus, it just takes out the whole thing of women having a zimun. Okay, it says Hishmit halacha chashuva. It's omitting. So it says bedalid lesa minashim. So in the Defus editions, it is lacking from this last sentence and on. Hishmit halacha chashuva. This is omitting a very important halacha. She'ena nishmaas me'ahemshach, which is not, I guess, supported or inferred from the from what follows. Yeah.
Is that saying that the women and the slaves and the children are chayiv and zimun in the way they're chayiv in Birkas Hamazon, or that they're chayiv the way that the men are chayiv, not the way?
So I think he's saying, yeah, I think so. Let me talk out the way I'm reading it. You tell me if I'm misunderstanding what you're saying.
Right.
Is that with the women's chayiv in Birkas Hamazon, it's we don't know whether it's deraisa or derabanan, right? So you treat it as a suffix, whether it's a deraisa or derabanan. I think so. Yeah, right. Yeah, but
therefore wouldn't be on the same level as a man.
It would not be on the same level as a man. Yeah, right. But I think the important thing, the reason why women care about this is the whole concept of like a mezumenet. Yeah. Right. Is is that the Rambam is acknowledging that. What was that?
Isn't that in the halacha anyway?
In the halacha anyway. In the next. Oh, nashim vadim muktanim im zamin alehem aval zamin hin lasman. Oh, maybe not. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean they do it for themselves.
Oh yeah.
Dalad me'el
aval nashim mizamos.
I mean, there's a whole thing. There's the Gemara. There's one with the Gemara about pizza stuff.
Right.
Dalad
me'ela
group and all that.
me'ela ella aval nashim mizamos. Hold on just a second here. I just want to look at make sure I'm reading this correctly. In the Defus.
I'm thinking when you're writing, you're not writing in the halacha. You just have the halacha.
How's it treat stuff?
That's the Gemara says for the Nashim.
Some Zimuns could get really wild. Yeah.
The Gemara says for Nashim Avadim at the time is that Nashim Avadim is pretty obvious. And there's a whole thing with the Mishkav Zachar and all
No, I'm just thinking how Nashma, like, if it's a normal thing, why did it increase this?
that.
The husband,
No,
wife, and the
meaning-
son.
Huh.
Right, that's a question.
Me Ella
There's
Habal
a-
Nashim moving. I'm not sure what he's saying here.
Like, is-
Yeah, you're right, it does say that there.
Increases?
Yeah. Okay, that's the end of our time. But that's just the basic way to how to learn it. But if you are interested though in this in that Hakdama, he basically goes through the history of every like version of the Rambam and what happened to it. For example, basically when the Rambam's family left Egypt, there was the handwritten version of the Mishneh Torah and then the handwritten version of the Pirush Mishnayos. So part of the family got the Pirush Mishnayos and part of the family got the original Rambam, and the original Rambam was lost, and the Pirush Mishnayos survived for a much longer time, and that's also what they have on Al Torah as well, parts of that. But it's very interesting, but not from a learning perspective, just more from the history, archaeological perspective. But yeah, the main thing, and if you ever need the reminder about what the code is, the place where you find this, I'll show you how to get there. So if you're going from Al Torah. The way to get the code is Mishneh Torah, and then you go to the Hakdama, and then Mavo, preface, and you go to you scroll all the way down. You click Khan, which is taking you to the Sheilat, and then this is Sheilat's introduction, and then you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, and it has the key. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so good. We did it in one shot. I was hoping we wouldn't go on beyond that. Okay, so let's talk about what we want to do between now and the break.